Did I make it?
You did, and we're recording, so everyone that thought it wasn't happening after 10 minutes will be able to see it anyway. And here's Peter. How's it going?
Hey everyone.
Hey. Hey Tyler, can you wipe out your Zoom link in Slack just in case anybody decides?
I did update the one in Slack so that it shows the
Sweet.
correct one.
Awesome. How's it going, Peter?
Oh, well, everything's okay here. How about at your end?
I've had a day, man. A day.
Oh,
I'm ready for it to be done. It's probably like the fourth time that I've said, you know what, I should probably just go to bed, start over tomorrow, fresh. But let's do something fun.
yeah.
Tyler, you want to do show and tell?
I love doing show and tell.
Yeah, this is a good show, and I got to catch up on. I got all of my time compressed into this morning, got nothing done for this, so I'm really looking forward to getting some inspiration.
So, long story short, in item AWS, things have been coming along pretty quickly. I've got images, instances, internet gateways, key pairs, volumes, and VPCs from EC2 in there, as well as like some random things like DynamoDB tables, global tables. I've got a system for getting at least the present and absent states, as well as these exec functions of create, delete, get, list, tag, get the tags, and untag, and an update function. So those are the bare minimum of what's going into every item AWS module is these functions and then a present and absent state. So what I'm going to be, where we're really going to need help then is once I've got all this boilerplate code in there and it's working and it has tests written, the goal is that no one coming in to work on item AWS or check it out has to create an entire framework from scratch or figure out everything. Is that there's already tests there, there's already code there, so you already have something to work with. And so that's my goal is this week I'm going to just pump out that basic functionality out of item AWS. And then before we post a spreadsheet of what parts people wanted to take command over, is within this, there's a lot of documentation that needs to be done, which is a hard part for sure. And taking our arguments, for example, if we look at DynamoDB was my one example. There are times when Boto 3 requires things to be in lists of dictionaries for no reason, especially when it comes to tags. And so we want to make it so that when we're writing states, the states can be simple and pretty. And then under the hood in all of these functions, turn the pretty stuff that we like for salt into the nasty stuff that Boto wants. And then documenting all of those changes as well. So that the item AWS as a tool is very easy, intuitive to use, and pretty to be simple. So we are going to be very opinionated about the way arguments are formatted and like using all lowercase underscore delimited things rather than the camel case. That's the kind of way we want item AWS states to be written. So I can post the link in the chat if anyone is interested in let me post that chat. If anyone is interested in taking a part of Item AWS, or if you feel like you want to be the one that, like I wrote this boilerplate code, but I'm not someone that uses AWS in production. So if you're someone who really knows a lot about DynamoDB tables and you're opinionated about how this should look, I am all ears and would love your opinion in how these things should look. So that's the state of Item AWS. And now another thing that we've been lacking in Item Cloud is bootstrapping. And that's something that, talking with Peter and Nick on Friday, and then with Tom recently, we think we have figured out. Is we're gonna have a new project called Item Cloud, which is able to idempotently bootstrap Salt or any other bootstrap method that you want to plug in. Like if you're familiar with POP, you can easily extend the bootstrap exec and state module to have your own bootstrapping methods. But in Item Cloud, it's just going to support Salt for now. But the long story short from that is, like in Item AWS, where I'm creating an instance, the idea is I can add to this variable hub.states.cloud instances, I can add all of the credentials needed to open up an SSH session on the instance that I just created and just stick it there. So that way on the hub, I have access to the credentials to log into a machine that was created. And then in my states, like over here, just my AWS states, I can say bootstrap.salt.present and then just name the instance. So that way there's no complicated Jinja. It's just when you create something, it goes onto this, it goes onto the hub as being bootstrappable. And then in the bootstrap state, you can just name it and it'll be bootstrapped for Salt.
So, quick question.
Yes.
I guess a couple of questions. So, looking at the SSH credential injection, when you create an instance and say you're going to create this instance, you're going to be able to SSH into it. You pass the public key to the instance creation, but not the private key. So is
Right.
that something that we're going to have to pass into the state? Or is that something that we could potentially leverage account or something else in order to like securely house that sensitive information?
So this Salt bootstrapping script will be aware of what the Salt master's private keys are.
I think that's not really what I'm asking.
Oh,
So what you're talking about is the master key from the Salt perspective, right? What I'm talking about is the private key for SSH, right? Like when I create an instance, even inside the Azure portal, I say, hey, I want my my user account to be Tyler, and here's the public key for the SSH key that I own somewhere that I want you to inject into the instance. So wherever that private key happens to live, I don't actually have to tell Azure about that. I just have to say like, hey, here's the public portion of it.
right, accept this public key as something that can authenticate.
Right, so, you know, I can pass in a public key via the YAML for instance creation, and that's fine because it's public, right? Like who cares if somebody has your public key, you know, it's not sensitive information. But as soon as we're talking about like something that is sensitive in nature on a grand scale and not on like a per object scale, you know, say you use the same private key for some subset of your instances in your architecture, you don't necessarily want to be like injecting that normally through YAML unless you're encrypting like all of your YAML through some outside mechanism and then decrypting it and then jamming it up against the API and things like that. Like, is there some way that we can involve some more secure mechanism in order to grab just the private key portion and like merge that with the instance information that's coming out of the instance state, right? Like, it makes sense for me to, inside of my state, like, okay, I'm going to store my username and the IP or like whatever other information I need for deploying on the hub so that Bootstrap can reference it. But like the private key, not so much. The other question that I have when you showed the state, right? Like that seems very willful. I have to know exactly what I'm deploying when I go so that I can build this YAML beforehand, or if I'm going to do it in Jinja programmatically to iterate over top of like a list of names or whatever I'm going to do. I'm still having to build that YAML. It's a little bit more explicit than I would have intended, right? Like, Salt Cloud, one of the cool things about it was all I had to do was set the deploy flag to true.
So you'd
Ultimate.
expect that, is that the way we would want Item Cloud to work?
I mean, it probably couldn't be exactly the same, right? Because Item isn't directly connected into the Salt master in the way that Salt Cloud was.
Right.
It's sort of like meant to be used together, but some combination of keywords should be all I should need inside of the state to say, yeah, I want to bootstrap this thing, and then everything else should be magic. I don't really like the idea of having to build separate YAML stanzas for it. So
Okay. So
it's more like a user preference thing. And Peter, I don't know if you have ideas on how this is. Like, I don't mind doing it, right? Like, it's not the end of the world to have to iterate over top of something inside of Jinja and like pass a list in, but
right.
it seems very not salty.
I guess I am already kind of used to that in how I'm doing Salt Cloud, but I'm open to learning other ways to think about it. I don't have a strong opinion from where you're coming from, but I think that your experience with Azure RM probably gives you a different perspective on it, and I think that that's worth talking about. Which is to say, I don't know.
So is this more what you would expect to see, Nick? Is if a deploy flag was set, then Bootstrap?
Yeah, like it's all sort of taking place inside of that one spot. Being able to call it externally as a state, I think there's value in that for existing
Where this state can still exist as part of its own repo, be maintained.
Right.
Because bootstrapping is the same once you have a shell in, it's pretty much the same for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
does it,
okay,
so I think that's fair.
So now I think I'm getting a little clearer of a picture. So we've got the bootstrap status of the node something that we have in Item, or is this like?
It would be a new project, and we would be able to idempotently bootstrap an instance.
So we could have like an auto bootstrap that just says once the node is known, we have a method to look for it if it's not already registered to try to find it to
right.
like just get it.
And all that would go inside of the state for this.
Yeah, I mean that's better than the current Salt Cloud method, right? Of identifying a node and then after you launch it, give it a shot, try it again. If it fails, go away.
So then, Nick, for Azure RM, if I have a pluggable module called Item Cloud that is able to bootstrap it, and I just toss you this function that takes an IP address and some keys as arguments, would that be enough?
Yeah.
and it like deploys a salt binary, accepts minion keys, all the same way Salt Cloud does.
Yeah, if it's gonna do it via SSH to start, right? Like I'm sure that we would probably want to support WinRM
Right.
in the future, but you know, if I have some way to pass in, like, hey, here's the contact IP, whether it be the private key or the private address or the public address, whether or not I'm like running item inside of a VNet that's directly next to and accessible to some internal IP that I just stood up, or it's the public if I'm doing it from my laptop. The username, the IP, and then the private key. And you know, I guess my main question is like, is this Bootstrap function that's going to do the work, is it responsible for being able to pull things out of account for the SSH private key if that's what I wanted to do, or would I be responsible for that inside of Azure? Because it feels like it should be like a shared function inside of the bootstrapping.
So Heist is already aware of a Salt Master or has some Salt Master functionality.
SSH key, SSH private key.
Right. So if Heist already can manage a master's private SSH keys or have access to it, then is that a huge problem?
How, I guess, how is it
Hmm.
doing it, and how are we tying all these things together? Like, this is the first time that we're talking about Heist.
Right.
So does Heist have to be present at that point in order to take advantage of some SSH key that's there? Like, why are we involving Heist at this point? Is Heist going to be called by the bootstrap? How do these things tie together?
Heist calls the bootstrapping. It's what can set up an asynchronous SSH tunnel, and it's what can deploy the salt binary onto the minion and accept the minion's keys.
So walk me through the process and what lives where, right? We're starting with item Azure RM or item AWS, and I'm standing up an instance.
Oh yeah.
And I pass a username and my IP, and that's it, to where and what goes on from there.
So, this is where I'm gonna have a few gaps too, because I don't for an EC2 instance. Do I know the username of my things here?
Almost always you will, because you will have to provide that information. You have to create the AMI with that special user able to access on first boot for the bootstrap to work.
So I will have access to a user right here.
Yeah, and with Azure, you actually have to tell it what you want the username to be.
Okay.
Because the agent that's inside of the image sets that. You know, even if it's like a CentOS box or an Ubuntu box or whatever underlying image you're using, you still have the opportunity to override that. And you know, it could be like item or admin or whatever, right? For all instances that I stand up inside of Azure RM, I'm setting that username to item by default, and you can override it. So you'll have access to that user.
So then I guess you have all of the information. You have the username, you have the IP address. That's what Heist is missing. And let's just assume that Heist has access to everything a regular Salt Master has access to. Okay. It has access to master keys, and it has the ability to accept a minion's key.
So if
let's just take that as given.
If item cloud is, I'm gonna throttle my children. Oh, this is being recorded. Never mind. So why are we putting this inside of item cloud?
Because
So we're passing this information to Bootstrap, which lives in item cloud, which is then calling Heist to do the actual work. Why aren't we just calling Heist directly? What code has to live inside of bootstrapping that is cloud specific that
is Heist could do it all, but it's just that it would it's just then we can maintain it and make sure bootstrapping is happening exact same way instead of copying the 20 lines from Heist that it would take to do it into every single project and having to propagate a change everywhere.
Gotcha. So there's, well, I guess my next question is those 20 lines that would cause Heist to do that. Why couldn't Heist host that code itself?
So here's the next one too. The where I want to go with this next.
Okay.
To further answer your question. I want to be able to add something like my bootstrap method, and then right here, instead of saying hub.states.bootstrap salt, you'll be familiar with this one, Nick, but
Yeah.
a git adder, and instead of specifying salt, you can have any bootstrap method. Like someone would be able to, it's pluggable this way. Is rather than just having salt as a bootstrap method, someone could extend item cloud to bootstrap Ansible or any other tool.
Gotcha.
So that's why I put it in its own project.
Okay. Starting to track now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're passing this information to the item cloud project. And that hosts those 20 some odd lines to make Heist do stuff near term.
Right. And more
and
things than just Heist and salt in the future.
It's in turn passing that username and IP to Heist. And Heist is responsible for retrieving the public key, the private key to use to get into the system.
Yes.
And that would then be configurable, whatever it's looking for, via Heist's configuration.
Yes.
Okay. So we will have states for Azure or AWS that are pulling the credentials that it needs to access the APIs from account in the underlying code. It's standing up instances and retrieving the username and IP to contact it, passing off to Bootstrap, which is a pass-through to this particular instantiation. You know, it's going to be Heist doing the work. Heist is pulling that its own configuration information in order to figure out where the private key is. So you will have had to have configured two things at that point if you want to do this correctly.
Yes, and especially I guess if you're not running this from your Salt Master, if you're running it from your laptop, then you would have to specify that private key in an account file or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we have some way to like override that somehow and like pass that through, I think that would probably be necessary for that. Yeah, because I mean that could potentially be a workflow, right? Like I'm standing up things from my laptop that's creating cloud resources. I'm telling it where to find the master, but I don't have any of the master components myself.
Right.
And I'm just going to go to the master afterwards and like accept all the things that I just created. Or I have some sort of like key workflow where Reactor is doing crazy stuff to verify new systems connecting.
So all of that stuff happening, I would want you as an item cloud developer to just have this. If deploy, do this. And then have item cloud, the project item cloud, do all the heavy lifting for all of that stuff.
Okay.
And it'll be documented and tested on its own for this is how you set up the credentials and for how it figures out where the salt master's private keys are, and all of that would be very clear.
Okay, I think that's fair. It usually just takes me a while to like figure out exactly how things connect together.
No, I'm glad that you stepped through it, because I'm sure for even people like for people that aren't familiar with item cloud or where that's going, it can definitely be difficult to follow.
Cool. Okay. So currently inside of Item Azure RM, we don't have a dependency on Item Cloud. So we will be introducing one once this is ready.
Right.
And currently in Item Cloud, there's nothing that's gonna
There was nothing there that we needed. We were thinking of
Yeah.
using it for contracts that were broadly applicable, but it was just
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. Yeah, I'm on board.
cool. Well, that's all I have for the current state of Item AWS and the future of bootstrapping Salt. And once we have like all the core functionality there for Item AWS, when we have bootstrapping Salt, I think very quickly we'll be at feature parity with Salt Cloud.
Yeah,
Is that
definitely.
fair?
I think bootstrapping was like the big missing component at that point.
Right. But this is just my proof of concept, and I wanted to approve the general idea before I go into it. And I'm hoping that as the month goes on, I'll have a more concrete method that I can say, okay, this is how it's working, and then have, get more feedback as it's going on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like other cloud things going on, depending on how ambitious I feel tonight, or if I really do give up for the day and do it tomorrow, I'm about to cut a 3.0 release of Item Azure RM that's going to have some initial container support for Azure Container Instances and Azure Container Registry. It's also going to have Azure Functions, which is the serverless equivalent of Lambda and AWS. So we're going to have a lot of fancy new things coming out. I'm going to make sure that we have pretty good documentation on like use cases for those new things, because they're pretty cool. And if I write any like blog posts, rolling stuff up or anything like that, I'll make sure to post some Slack so people can get that info. So that should be a pretty exciting thing. We also have some stuff coming up that I'm trying to work through right now. I've just been like opening up a crazy amount of tickets inside of the GitHub repository and trying to figure out which features are coming next, because like gaining coverage of the entire Azure SDK service offering is pretty crazy, as I'm sure Tyler knows very well, considering he's been trying to cast a wide net right here. But like on the Azure side, since we have some functionality out there currently, and it's all like documented inside of the module doc strings and stuff like that, I'm trying to make sure that all the new features that we add have that as well. So it takes a little bit of time to create. And if anybody's watching this, I know we don't have a whole lot of people on right now, but if anybody's watching this on YouTube afterwards, please come help us. Come help Tyler, come help Peter, come help myself. We're trying to make things super cool, but we definitely need your help to try and get all the features in that are available inside of these cloud services. So this is my plea. Consider me on my knees. If you're talking to me, Tyler, you're muted.
No, my mouth was just moving. I was just mouthing out the words I was typing. I was typing to Tom, telling him what we had talked about, and he says, "Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. Not have a completely separate state for doing things."
Cool. So we got the Tom seal of approval.
Yes.
It's always important to have. I know we got a late start here, but we got 13 minutes in our usual allotted time, and we can go a little bit later if we need to. Does anybody else have anything? Peter, do you have anything you wanted to cover?
You know what I could use? I don't know if we want to turn this into a help session, but I did, like I said, I got delayed in trying to do some of the things for IDEM AWS. And what I'm finding is I'm a little confused as to how the tests expect to be run. It seems like with an OpenStack listener on, container running on 4566, there's a couple of different things I see here that maybe slightly contradict each other. And if I could get some clarification, it might get easier to try to run through the tests as well.
Absolutely.
So in the README, it's talking about, it just says it provides a specific configuration that needs to be set up for the account stuff.
Right.
And then again, in the tests directory, there is another pre-configured creds.yaml. And that, basically says, hey, here's the key. And I'm wondering like what the expectation should be here or which way to go.
That key in the test folder is specifically for GitLab. It's not
Okay.
one that I'm expecting anyone to use. You could use that one, but then when you go to like using your own Amazon credentials, you shouldn't encrypt it with that key that's in a GitHub repo.
Right.
But you could point to that key and to that file, and it would be an easy way to get started.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if that was the intent, but it sounds like it's an option, but it's not the intent. Okay.
Right.
So I guess the only question I've got right now is that when I am trying to run the tests, is there a minimal test that I could start with just to confirm that that local stack is operating as expected? Because if I if I just run PyTest on like test instance way down in tests integration, IDEM AWS exec AWS EC2 test instance. Again, for me, it's all failing out right now. And I've got to point it to a local cred file. Oh, wonder if that's what I'm missing. I always forget with account. Do I have to tell it what file
Tell the account key and the encrypted FRNet file.
Right. Let me see if the account key is still set correctly. Sorry for boring everyone. This is just trying to get back in the groove here. Got the account key there and the account file. Maybe I should prefix that with my path.
And while you're doing that, I'll show everyone else what we're looking at. These are the 161 tests that IDEM AWS runs. It takes a whole 15 seconds to get them running once you got everything set up correctly. So it's nice, it's fast. Oh no, it's going a little slower this time. Of course. Oh,
Is there something else that your editor might be setting up here? Just because let me
try it from the command line. No?
Let's assume I got the wrong key or something messed up here. So let's see. No, that would break earlier, wouldn't it?
So just specifically where this creds.yaml. Yeah, you want to point the account file variable to the creds.yaml.fernet, to the full path to that location.
Right.
And then you want to point account key to this key file, or to that string.
Huh.
What's up?
Well, I'm doing something wrong here. Can I share for a sec?
Of course.
Just share that one. So all that's going on here,
Where's your master branch at?
it should be about a few minutes out of date with yours.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
I'm just going to do this. Yeah, it merged from Salt AWS master a few minutes ago. Yeah. So it's basically, I just re-encrypted this just to make sure I had the right thing. I've got an account key environment variable. I've got this account.yaml right here. So it's there and I've got the key set up correctly. And all I'm getting, and so I've got, whoops. Oh, break me.
So where do you have local stack running?
Yeah, local.
Oh, you have it with the, okay.
Yeah, so.
Stack infra up. Or infra.
Yeah, so it seems to me like it's not, it may not be connecting to local stack. I can't quite tell because local stack's logging isn't for every connection.
What does that unencrypted file look like then? That
Sure.
account.yaml. As long as there's no secrets in there.
Yeah, there's nothing secret in here.
Okay, test development item US. You specified an endpoint URL.
Oh, are we in YAML land?
Yes.
With colons? Should be HTTP. It should be.
HTTP.
Yep.
You have to re-encrypt it.
Yep. Nope.
Can you look at the YAML file again? This is what my YAML's looking like. Well, I guess you have access to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can switch to doing that then.
Yep, that looks right.
What's that?
Huh. Looks right to me, but
I'm going to assume this is a local stack thing. Then if that's right, then I'll start looking at that and seeing if there's something messed up. So
oh yeah, there is something messed up. Sorry. Go into the creds.yaml file. I see it. That test creds.yaml, when we're on GitLab CI, it calls it HTTP local stack 45666. You connect to it based on the name of the container. For you, it should be localhost.
right. Okay, bye. That should have been a shift.
Hey guys, I'm gonna drop.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you, Nick.
I'll catch you later.
Hasta potato.
Yeah, no, I'm doing something's going wrong here. I don't
You
think
have
it's
to
finding.
re-encrypt the file now.
Oh, you're right.
Wait a second. Oh, this is a different error. So the account stuff is working.
Well, these are the errors I've been getting all along when it can't connect. I'm not sure whether the account stuff is.
No, this is where it's saying function scoped fixture is not accessible.
Yeah.
That's a different problem.
Okay.
So-
Do you know what that is?
I ran into it the other day. Try doing you're in Bash, right? Not Z shell.
Yeah.
Try to do that. Oh, oops. Pip install -e dot full. Or just pip install PyTest pop upgrade. Make sure you have the latest version of PyTest pop.
PyTest.pop.
PyTest -pop.
Yep.
Yeah. It already was the latest. Ugh.
It looks like it thinks it was. Yeah. And just for the sake of it, is PyTest also new? PyTest is also new. Are you running off of a branch?
I'm on master.
Well, I mean of a PyTest pop.
I am not.
Okay.
Here, I'll just spit out my versions of everything.
Yeah, I was getting some conflicting installation things with between AIO Boto 3 and Boto 3 versions and stuff. So I excluded
Right.
AIO Boto 3 in this case.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It should
Figured
still
it would
work.
be, but and if I got that wrong, let's just see, that should be a different error. Yeah, I mean, even if that's all wrong, it seems to.
The function scoped fixture event loop with a module scoped request object. Ugh. Do you have PyTest salt factories or PyTest salt installed?
I don't know in this environment. Let's see.
Okay. If this is a clean environment, then it shouldn't be a problem. But I know that.
If it's not PyTest Salt Factories, it seems to be
Oh,
installed.
that one's good. I didn't know that PyTest salt and PyTest salt factories cause issues in PyTest if they're both installed.
Okay.
And you're on Ubuntu.
Yeah.
I tried doing it within WSL over the weekend, and I really struggled for some reason getting it to work. I'm
Yeah, I don't
wondering
have a
what
lot of
Python version
experience
are you
there.
on?
It should be 369.
Yeah, that should work because Python 3.6 is the. I want this to work for you because it works on my machine is not a good enough excuse.
Sure, but
60. I'm also PyTest 601.
can I show you what just concerned me a moment ago? So if I set these environment variables a little bit wrong, so if I'm using env to override account file and account key, and I just, let's say, do that. It seems to start failing right off. It doesn't, I would expect something else to go wrong. Like I would expect account to bail before that because it can't load up the credentials.
I did change that in the latest version of things. Hold on.
Am I maybe using the wrong environment variables?
So I just pushed again. If you pull with this, it should give better errors. Except I'm wondering why you're having the event loop problem,
Wait.
because I had that same issue when I tried to do it on WSL on Windows with Ubuntu.
Which key am I using with GitLab? Hold on.
And I'm gonna create an Ubuntu VM real quick and see if I can reproduce the issue. And
All right. Add a lot of stuff. All right. So yeah, I've got your 2106FF merge a lot of stuff or added a lot of stuff. And let's see if that changes that.
yes, I was very creative with that name.
Still pops out a bunch of errors.
Ugh.
So it's got to be at my end.
Don't pass it an account key and an account file. And when you ran it without those environment variables? Oh,
Yeah, I'm running it bare. It's looking the same if it's bare. I mean, there's nothing at all.
dang.
Now,
No
can
error.
I can wait, I can pass in the, oh, not to PyTest. I can do that to item.
Yeah, oh, right. With item, you can pass the account file and backend. You should be able to with PyTest though. I need to add that to PyTest pop.
Yeah, that would be maybe that would be helpful. I mean, if it has nothing to do with the problem here, then that's of course not. Um,
Right.
hmm.
Yeah, that looks right.
Yeah, I still don't see. I think,
Huh.
I mean, something just seems to be broken. I feel like it's probably with how I'm invoking a count or have something installed here, because I just don't see, I just don't see local stack getting hit. Though again, it's if you actually do hit the APIs, it doesn't log a lot. Let's see.
So if in a browser you go to localhost 4566, does it show you status running?
Yep.
Hmm.
Just wonder. Let me see if I can start local stack with debug mode.
Yeah, if you just have an environment variable named debug enabled,
Ah, okay.
that'll do it. I mean, crazy versions of anything, right? Pip freeze.
All right, with debug messages on or coming up.
Okay.
Oh, that could be a problem.
What was it?
Well, it does say found credentials in environment variables, and I don't want that.
Oh, is that local stack is picking up your actual AWS stuff?
It may be trying to do that, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to run the tests with legit credentials.
Well, I think it's more like, I mean, what would that even mean? I guess maybe it means that it would require those credentials to talk to local stack, because it would never, it should never reach out.
Right.
Let's see, it just takes a long time to stop for something that has no state. Okay, let me try, I don't, well, I'm gonna try clearing out the environment before that goes and seeing what happens. No, it still says Boto Quora credentials, found credentials in environment variables, but I started with an M dash, so that shouldn't, that's unlikely.
I'm just catching up on Ubuntu. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm basically running Ubuntu with PyEnv, building a whole bunch of different Python versions. So I'm curious to see if you get the same issue.
Okay. I'm going to get clone item AWS. Let's see. What are you finding?
Oh, I'm just trying to configure the AWS CLI to talk to this again.
Okay. We're getting there.
Just a sec.
Oh yeah, are you able to just run a command?
Yeah, I'm getting to going towards that. Hold on a second, get this. Hey, how are you doing?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it does work, at least if I explicitly, yeah, if I call
Oh,
AWS with the region and endpoint. Do we need region in there too?
uh, Yes, region is part of the
It's in there.
CPX stuff.
Yeah, no, it's in there. Sorry, that's the location though. So yeah, it's.
You can also call it region.
All right.
Hmm.
Any thoughts?
I'm just barely trying to getting to where I can run it on my own computer.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to get it on here.
But the account.log doesn't have anything. These might just be out of date junk that I have. Oh, yeah. It's putting a lot of.
Oh, does it give you any good information?
Empty. I'm just going to try to delete a lot of these so I know if any of these are actually getting updated.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Yeah, the PyTest log is empty, so it's not telling me anything useful.
I keep getting those errors about the event loop.
Okay. Huh, I wonder if there's a platform difference there then.
Must
I mean, that's
be.
kind of good.
Yeah, it means it's not anything you're doing. Because I'm following along and it's like, yeah, you're doing all the things right. It's just. This is an issue with PyTest pop. Let me see. It could be an issue with item AWS. Exec AWS. No. Integration conf test. That's what we want. Give me one minute.
Sure.
How embarrassing. PyTest pop. PyTest pop. Plugin. Event loop. Yeah, I rescoped event loop for session. And you have the latest PyTest pop installed, right?
I mean, the version installed is Freeze says 6.0, which is what PyPy said is current.
Yes. A pip install async test for me real quick.
Async dash test?
Async
Or
test,
async?
one word.
All right.
Already.
Requirement already satisfied.
Dang.
0130.
Okay. That wasn't it.
Did that fix it for you?
No. I was just hoping to. For me, it's already working, but.
Okay. Maybe I should
I'll
just
look into
trash
this
whole
deeper
virtual
and.
environment.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. We don't have to spin our wheels on it right now.
Well, why don't I just trash this virtual environment and try to just come back in with a new install?
Okay. We'll give that a shot. Sounds reasonable.
Okay. And I'll go back to again with 369, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just start with pip install -r requirements.text, and then any of the other requirements files that I should start with, or just the requirements.txt enough for now?
That should be enough for now.
Well, okay, let me install PyTest. Oh, okay, so let's see. I think the testing stuff has got to be in one of the requirements extra. Yeah, test.txt. I mean, no, it's not working for me.
What issues are you still having?
Okay, here we go.
What are the
Well, some of
errors?
these are okay. So let's see. Let's go to the top. Yeah, this is still scope mismatch. You try to access the
No
function
module
scope.
local stack client. Oh, function scoped fixture with a module
Right.
scoped. Involved factories. What does it say? The involved factory. Oh, event loop.
Right. There's a lot of that. I think it failed because there's no local stack client package. We can install that if that's going to help focus.
Did you just try to pip install local stack _ client?
I mean, yeah, I expect that will work. I've been going by the
Oh, you did
requirements
the
files.
requirements
Yeah.
extra.txt.
Yeah. Well, the requirements extras, yeah, the
Wait,
test.txt.
no module. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Yep, yep.
We're good. Without the dash R. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This time the errors are.
This is still.
Got it. I think I know.
Is there some build flag I might have gotten here that is?
No, there is. Hold on. The issue I think is in PyTest pop, and so I'm just gonna release a quick new version of that.
Okay.
And boom. I think you should be able to pip install PyTest pop 6.1 now. I think the thing that we're seeing is different environments installed fixtures in a different order, and so
This might take a few minutes. There must be a CDN in here somewhere. Let me maybe, should I just clone that and install it?
There we go. It was having trouble pushing to
Oh.
PyPy, but it's on PyPy now. So it'll take probably another minute, but
There we go.
yes. Now run your tests, and I hope it works. If not, I might.
I'm not there. No, it failed. Let me see.
Were the failures different? At least it wasn't the event scoped fixture problem.
No, unfortunately it appears to be the same. There may be less of them. I don't know. No, it's just a big screen.
So this is your most recent run.
Yeah. No, that just doesn't seem to go away based on the invocation.
Huh. Wait, does that one say that it was PyTest 6.1 at the very top? Where
Let's
it
go
was-
look. PyTest 6.0.1. That's PyTest. Okay.
Oh, the one that it just calls pop. Is PyTest pop even installed here? It doesn't look
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, it should. Okay.
Well, it should show up there in the. Oh, there it is in the plugins. Pop 6.1. Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you did better than me.
Oh, right before you left it, I saw it.
Platform Linux, Python, PyTest 601, Py1,
Right
plugin,
there.
temperature plugins.
Plugins.
Salt Factories 13.
The one that it
Pop
just calls
61.
pop.
Yeah.
That's the one. Okay. You have 6.1.
Is there anything else that could be affecting this that you're aware of?
The event loop is something that PyTest pop is overriding. And I'm still overriding it. It's just I made it so it wasn't an event scope fixture. It was a function scope fixture, like the error
Yeah.
you're looking at was expecting.
Oh, maybe it's no right way. No, okay. You try to access the function scoped fixture event loop with a module scope request object. Involved
Oh,
factories.
so what's the other factory?
Involve factories, and that's I have no idea. Is this the same thing we were seeing before? I'm now so confused. I'm a little. So function scope fixtures event loop, module scope request object. Yeah, function module. Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, it's function scope. I mean, I can bring this back down to 6.0 and we can compare, but I think it'll be the same. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. But
Huh. I'm trying to figure out where this is happening. Well, at least you can do this stuff locally. Wait, go back up to your plugins. Let me see what your plugins were
sure.
again.
I just downgraded, by the way, to 6 to do this run to see what the difference was. So
And
POP6, salt factory 013, 0, temperature 2019, 10, 12, and async IO 014, 0.
Okay, that's what I have. I have POP 6.1, async IO 014, temperature 2019 10 12. Salt factory is 013 0.
And PyTest is 601.
Yeah. Async IO. Wait, what's that? Async IO 014 0. Yeah, it's the same. Temperature. Is it the version of Python? I'm on Python 3.8.
All right, well, why don't I install that and see it? Why don't I switch over to that and install there? So,
I'd be annoyed if this was not working on Python 3. I would need to expand the tests to do more Pythons if that's the case.
what is it again? PyM versions, is it? Versions. No, I just want the current. Okay, yeah. I don't have 3.8 installed. Well, yeah, there we go. 3.8.3, that'll work.
I'm going to be annoyed if the reason is Python 3.6. That'd be embarrassing. But that would explain why it's working on Arch and not on Ubuntu.
Could be. Yeah, let's see. So requirements.text, and then we'll put in the requirements, the tests.text.
Yeah, PyTest must behave very differently under different Pythons if this is the thing that's causing the issue.
Oops. Just a sec. No, that failed the same way. Let me do this. Let's get rid of those errors. Let me get the phone to them. I'll be right back. Eva? This is not okay. We'll be back. Okay, I don't think the version made a difference here. All right, let me just get the latest version of. No, all right, I've got some other problem here. I don't know exactly where to start with it, but I think I got to run and take care of some things here.
Okay, I'll try and reproduce it and debug it on my own.
All right, thanks. Or maybe I should just start up in a container and see if it works better there for me.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Good luck.
Thank you. Take it
Next
easy.
time.